Now, yesterday we talk about on the restless mind, and we show you that there are many things that we can do with the restless mind. We can be mindful of it. How to be mindful of it? There are a number of ways we can able to look into it and to see what is the true nature of this restless mind. Then we look into the worries, we look into the skeptical doubt, and so on. How by paying attention to it, by paying attention to them, then we can able to be free from those emotions, living the memories, but not the emotions. This is where we can change. The vipassana can go deep into it and change how we relate with all our past experiences, which is the bad one. And even the pleasant ones also of the past, then also with the mindfulness is there, we can able to change again. Not to say that it's not pleasant, but we are not so affected by it anymore. We're not attached to it, we not crave for it. Then also, I've mentioned a number of things that we need to prevent this restlessness from coming in. If you don't prevent those restlessness from coming in, then the restless mind will keep going and going and going. If you are so engrossed with your mobile phones, so engrossed with talking, so engrossed with the hoo-ha of the temple, of everything, then it is impossible for you to meditate. Then I've mentioned also that these are the things that we can prevent. And then also it's good that sometimes we can able to change a bit of our lifestyle. Instead of thinking too much, sometimes you can be more present rather than living in our world, inside our mind, inside our heads. But living more present. The attention is towards more present in the moment. If you cannot have that presentness, sometimes we can have some metta while we are driving, while we are walking, while we are doing something. And when it fills up with something more wholesome, then those things, it will help to reduce the restless mind. Then we talk about the sloth and torpor. As I mentioned yesterday, that the sloth and torpor, there are two types of defilements. A single hindrance, but two types of defilements, a sloth and a torpor. A dullness and drowsiness, for example. Sometimes it's translated as dullness of the mind and the drowsiness of the mind. As I said again, these two, they affect the mind differently. Tina or sloth or the dullness, it affects the consciousness. Whereas mida, it affects the mental factors. How do they affect? Well, there are different characteristics when it arises. Yesterday I mentioned some of the characteristics. Now, sloth and torpor, or tina mida, again here, not every time you are drowsy is tina mida. Not every time you are drowsy is tina mida. You see, there are types of tina mida that is not connected to the defilement. I can't use the word tina mida, because if I will use the word tina mida, then it will be defilement. Then it will be more like a general drowsiness. Because sometimes this general drowsiness may affect you due to perhaps like certain medication that you are taking. If you take certain medication, even if you are arahant also, you will make you very sleepy. Even if your body is tired, you'll be very sleepy. Yeah? Now, tina mida, when it's become a defilement, behind it is that laziness of the mind. When the mind doesn't want to work, want to do anything, then it comes into more full-blown, then you get a lot of drowsiness. Whereas when an arahant may have that kind of a drowsiness, you want to say, but this is not tina mida, because this is a tiredness of the body, perhaps, or medication that he's taking. Yeah? So this one is not tina mida. Yeah? The Buddha also feels tired. The body feels tired. They need to rest too. Yeah? So for us, if you are a Puthujjana or even you are a partially enlightened, then the type of sloth and torpor, the type of drowsiness, let's say you take from medication, then those drowsiness can be a condition for the actual tina mida. All right? Can be an actual condition. Whereas for an arahant, if let's say they take a medication, they become drowsy, but they don't go into tina and mida. They are drowsy, but it does not come with that laziness of the mind. But for us, it's different. That's why it's very hard to differentiate these two out. Yeah? It's different because it always comes with that laziness of the mind for most of the time. So it's not easy to see this nature of the laziness of the mind. So, as I said yesterday, the yogi also must able to differentiate between what is a strong, heavy type of tina mida and the weak type of tina mida. Strong type where your mind is drowsy, you're nodding, you're fishing there, then yes, that it becomes, most of the time we see the tina mida. But there are tina mida which actually it is very weak and your eyes are still open or your mind is somewhat alert. Somewhat alert, but not 100%. Yeah? Partially, you're not, the mind doesn't want to note on the object very clearly. Kind of like take it easy. Take it easy, doesn't feel like doing things, doesn't feel like noting. I just want to let the mind just, go anywhere it wants. That type is a bit of a laziness of the mind coming in. Of course, with that laziness, together with the desire of doing other things, to look here, look there, look everywhere, also is there. Also is there. But the mind doesn't really want to work anymore. But you're still alert. You're still aware. You're still walking. We're still sitting. So this nature, if you are not careful, then the later part, it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. Sometimes, for example, you sit down. When you do your sitting meditation, then sometimes, how come within like 5 or 10 minutes you start nodding? At first, you're walking very nicely, lifting, pushing, dropping very nice. Then you sit down, wow, rising, falling, very beautiful, nice, bro. Then after that, the energy start dropping. Then after that, you start nodding. Then your whole body start bending and start slouching and so on. Why is that so? Because the energy right now is getting slower, diminishing, and yet during this time you didn't pick up on its signs, on its nature already. It's already coming in. You thought that you're still watching your rising and falling. Wow. But it's getting not so clear. But that time when it's not so clear, you're not so attentive right now. So when it's not so attentive right now, you keep it going, then the sloth and torpor already comes in. In the first few days, this part where you begin, you can't see how the sloth and torpor actually goes into. All you know is that 45 minutes later you wake up, or 1 hour later after the bell rings, so then only you wake up. Then only you know that you have slept through for 1 hour. How nice, huh? But for a more seasoned meditator, as the mind becomes sharper, when there's a drop in the effort, when there's a drop in the noting, kind of like you feel the rising and falling very clearly, for example, the lifting, pushing, dropping very clearly in the beginning for first few minutes. But then as the minutes goes on, you find that there's a drop in the noting. You find that the noting kind of like not so smooth anymore. It's not so flexible anymore. It kind of like stale a little bit. It just gives you that little. For some yogis, they already pick up the signs, already change to the next object. Change to the next object, stir up the mind again to build up on the clarity of the mind. So there is a space there, but most of the time we cannot catch it. As I said, even right now, if I tell you, tomorrow you will still fall asleep. And it's going to be a miracle, But just to let you know that there's somewhere there, perhaps one of these days you can catch hold of it. If you can catch on it, all these characteristics, and next time you're a bit more wiser, a little bit more sharper, before the full-blown type of sloth and torpor arises. Yeah. So you got a few more days to go and see for yourself. Or for some of you, got 1 month, more than a month more. But you're going to see all these type of things. Yeah. And it'll be very interesting because a lot of times you can avoid the heavy type of sloth and torpor. Yeah. If you're able to do that. Yeah. So, now, to overcome this sloth and torpor, to overcome this tinamida, yesterday I also as mentioned again, there are all defilements, all hindrances, we need to know how to do it in a right manner. If you do it in a wrong manner, if you do it simply just trying to get rid of it, then sometimes you will end up with a lot of problems. Yeah? So yesterday I mentioned that if this tinamida arises, if this drowsiness arises, the first thing that you must still have is that little bit of mindfulness left. At least there's a little bit of mindfulness. If there's no mindfulness, you can't even pick it up. Just like when you are thinking too much, if there's no mindfulness at all, you'll be in the story, you'll be in the content, you'll be just going on with the planning and your memories and so on. So too with this also the same thing. If there's no little bit of mindfulness left, you wouldn't know. So if you're good enough, there's some degree of mindfulness left, then you're aware of it. This is the first stage. The first acknowledgement of the sloth and torpor is there. The second one, as I said, is the labeling process. The labeling process towards the sloth and torpor, or you label it as dullness, or heavy, or nodding, or unclear, or like smoky, something like that, whatever that you see inside there. So the next thing is that you begin to label it. Labeling will be very effective right now. If you don't label for a long period of time, but when you come to sloth and torpor, it will be very helpful because the process of labeling itself gives rise to effort. It gives rise to effort. So, sloth and torpor, you need the right effort. On the restless mind, you need to reduce the effort. Sometimes you need to drop the labeling for restless mind. You just sit there. Watch it pass. Watch it hit you, or watch it go. One after another. But you stop the labeling and you just watch it. But on this sloth and torpor, you need to bring in the labeling. You need to bring, and the labeling is very useful at this moment of time. Even you are a seasoned meditator, even you perhaps you have not been using labeling for the past retreats or whatsoever, but Sloth and torpor comes in, advisable to bring in the labeling. You will deal with it much more faster. So the labeling process is be helpful. Then the next thing to deal with it here is the acceptance part of the sloth and torpor. Non-judgmental. The acceptance part is going to be difficult. Just like any of the hindrances, this sloth and torpor, because it affects you every day. Sometimes every sitting, sometimes 3/4 of 7 or 8 sittings that they are doing per day. Or per hour, it may affect you for half an hour. And it may come in quite strongly. And again, this sloth and torpor, this drowsiness, for some people is very different from one to another. It's all because due to our biorhythm of our body. For me, for example, if you ask me to 5 o'clock morning meditation, tak boleh. Or sleep. But sometimes I interview other yogis, 5 o'clock they are so clear. But when it comes to afternoon, they are lembek already, But for me, afternoon is very clear. Morning, not so clear. So, you may have your own biorhythm. And to know this biorhythm of our body is very good. Because you can learn to manage. Whenever your body is not so alert time, you go and do all the other chores. Go and do all your laundry, all your sweeping or whatever that you need to do. Because when you do that, it keeps the mind alert. But when you're alert time, don't do all these type of things. You keep it to walking, sitting, walking, sitting, walking, sitting. So a lot of times there are people in the afternoon, they are alert, they are very clear. So during this time when you are clear, especially in the afternoons, you're not supposed to do your laundry. You're not supposed to do anything else. You're not supposed to do sweeping or whatever it is. Walk, sit only. In order for the mindfulness to come in. Some people thought that, today afternoon so hot, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, go and take a shower. You think, he says, no problem after all. But this one, it affects the continuity of the mindfulness. And you say that, I can go into the shower and be more mindful. I also can be mindful. Nonsense. You can be partially mindful, but you cannot be as mindful when you are walking or when you are sitting. So when in the afternoon, for example, if you are a stretch of a long period where you can be walk, sit before, so during this time you don't break. And make it into a habit. Here in between, don't go to like making a drink, go and take a shower, and so on. No. Keep it very simple. Walk, sit, walk, sit, walk, sit. And it's going to be very helpful for your continuity of mindfulness. When the continuity of mindfulness is there, you prevent the sloth and torpor thinking and so on from coming in. We thought that people think that we are too regimented, If you are a beginner, come into this retreat, this cannot, that cannot, shower also cannot. Making drink also cannot. Must walk, sit 1 hour. Crazy people. That's most of the time we think that, but we do not know what's the implication behind it. Every time we've seen this way, we've seen yogis, especially when the beginners, when it comes in, they see this type of regimented, this is not for me. I want more relaxed, easy, free flow as I like, as I meditate. Yeah. If you like in that way, you carry on that way. But you do not know what the implication behind, what are the defilements involved, what are the hindrances involved behind it. And you find that your laziness of your mind will still be there. Over time, you just feel like you want to go and sleep, you go and sleep. You feel like you want to do something else, you do something else. So when that happens, this is where your sila will not be strong. Your sila is not your 8 precepts, not your 5 precepts, Your sila about walking, sitting. The time to walk, you didn't walk. The time to sit, you didn't sit. The time you like to do anything, you do anything. Although you don't go to hell for it, But lacking of discipline, lacking of sila. The sila is more refined type of sila. It's not about wholesome or unwholesome. It's about good or not so good. Good or not so good. It's not about wholesome or unwholesome here. Now we come back to the acceptance part. The acceptance part of this meditate of the sloth and torpor, you must learn to accept this sloth and torpor, because it's going to affect some of you a lot. And every time, sometimes you get frustrated over it. How come over the years, I cannot able to overcome it? Every time it comes in, fail. Every time sitting, sleep. And you get very frustrated. When you get frustrated and you cannot able to change, then your confidence on the meditation will start to shake. And it's become more fragile. Should I come back or not to retreat? Maybe I should go back and sleep, and I should go back and do other things, Your confidence become fragile. Then next retreat comes in, you may think, go there and sleep, only what for go? Go there 3/4 sleeping, might as well do something wholesome at home. And then your confidence will start to shake you, and then you'll start thinking of other things. Because cannot overcome. And I've seen yogis who are like that. Not many, but once in a while we have that. More problems is on the restless mind. So when they do not know how to overcome it, and they cannot accept it, then a lot of times they want to overcome it also. They still want to overcome it, but this time they do it wrongly. They begin to suppress it. Suppress it in the sense that they dislike it. Every time it comes in, you kind of like, inside that you go, nothing, sleepy. You're not seeing the sleepiness, but you're just hitting it. Sleepy, pop. And that is not right. You're not trying to hit it, just want to get rid of it, because at the behind it, you're disliking it. You're disliking it. Some yogis are on a restless mind. On the restless mind, what they do inside them? Perhaps some of you are also doing it now. They're sitting there, they're waiting for the thinking to come in. Any thinking to come in, they catch it. Anything come in, they'll get ready. There you are. There you are. There you are again. And they thought that they're doing it very well. They are watching the rising, falling, but they are always ready for the thinking. When it's going to come? Where it's going to come? How it's going to come? Sometimes I'm saying you are getting a shotgun inside there. Every time they come in, just pam. That is also not right. Because behind your mind is not noting the sloth and torpor or the restless mind. It's that you want to suppress it. You suppress it because you dislike it. You take it as a disturbance. Your whole attitude taken as a disturbance because, as I said, when you're dealing with all these hindrances, nothing is a disturbance. Everything is a meditation object. If you take it wrongly, you try to suppress it. Every time you try to suppress it, you will not win. Because you are just trying to overcome it with another defilement, with another hindrance. So that is not right. Don't try to suppress it. Don't try to want to push it away, But as I said, hindrances finally we need to clear it off too, but in the right manner, not in the wrong manner. But sometimes there are people also trying to overcome it with ego. You're trying to overcome it not by suppression but by ego, Because when they do the sitting, They're afraid that other people looking at him, I cannot be sleepy here. I must sit down straight so that everybody can look at me. I'm straight. Because why? I'm already 20 over years yogi here. And these people are still maybe new yogi. Then when they look at me, I cannot be showing down my body slouching like that. Paiseh, So paiseh, I must always sit up straight. Then you think you can sit up straight. Then therefore you're trying to suppress it with your ego. Sometimes because there are, in the retreats I have seen, there are leaders of a group of people, Then they have a friends and then kind of a leader. Then that the particular leader, he doesn't want to show the sleepiness of his own fellow friends and devotees and so on, So he cannot show paiseh ma. Keep on meditating and keep on sleeping, and yet you are the instructor or the leader and so on, you see. So what you do? Every time sleepiness come in, you ngenge lah, you ngenge. You hold your body straight. Yeah. I've seen this many times. In Burma and all that thing. You're trying, because... And then again, there are some yogis who just want to have a beautiful sitting. Beautiful body type of sitting, They want to keep the body erect, straighter than the pillar, So there must never be any bend, cannot be any slouching. Everything must be nice, perfect. That you think that you are perfect, that is where you're more concerned with the body rather than the hindrance. So with that, the ego comes in. With that ego, that conceit arises, then you suppress it with that ego. Of course, there are also suppressive with desire too. You feel like, what for? Sit down. Already sleepy already. I might as well go to the bed. Finish it off, clear for 1 hour, then come back again. They are desiring for the bed. That also is not right. That also is not right. Unless you are sick, unless you really feel very, 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 very tired, until you really cannot. But no, most of the time we cannot do that. So there are many things that a yogi did or will do or doing it right now that when you try to overcome it, you do it wrongly, and you don't realize that behind it is other defilements are connected with it. So let go of all the other this way. So what you do is that when it comes in, when the sloth and torpor comes in, don't wish for it to go away. Don't wish for it to stay also. Your job is just to, it comes, it becomes clear, bring your attention to be aware of it. Just like any other object. Just like any other object, just be aware of it. Now, then when you're aware of it fully, the acceptance comes in. Without wishing to go away, to suppress it or whatever that you want, just observe it. Just observe it. So, now you come to the third part. The third part of the acceptance. Then the fourth part. The fourth part is overcoming. Overcoming is important because you cannot let the hindrances keep going and going. It has to come to an end. But to come to an end, you need to develop a wholesome mental state to overcome it, not using an unwholesome mental state to overcome it. There may be skillful ways to do it. Now, how do we do it then? The way of vipassana and way of non-vipassana, and there are ways of samatha and the ways of prevention. Ways of vipassana. Of course, the way of vipassana is to go directly seeing it face to face. That means when it arises, it becomes prominent to you. Then put your attention, try to note it. It will come in like blank, becomes heavy, becomes unclear, becomes sinking down, becomes like your lights is like turning off, your alertness, you find that it's so dimmer and dimmer, and there are many types of sleepiness coming in. You feel that in your heart is so unclear. Sometimes you may feel that your body is a bit bending a little bit. Your head is nodding a little bit, as if like you're, talking about bending of the body. Each and every one of us also may be different. Some people bend forward, slouch forward. And some people also slouch backward. Some people slouch sideways also. Sometimes left, sometimes right, sometimes diagonal also. When your mind, when the body, this one, it has a different way of slouching the body. So, this time, when you pay attention to the mind, to the state of that sloth and torpor, you see its characteristic, how is it like, but at the same time, you label it. As I said, you label it. Drowsy, 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 drowsy. And this time, the labeling must be firm, clear and strong. Firm, clear and strong, at the same time you watch it. The second thing is that you label it slightly more faster than normally you do your rising, falling, or sitting, touching, and so on. A slightly more faster noting. At the same time, you see its characteristic of darkness, heaviness, and so on. Pay attention to it, see how it's happened. See what is happened. It may take you 5 minutes, 10 minutes before it becomes clear. But it's a technique. This technique is more preferable when your mindfulness becomes stronger. That sometimes when the yogis, are more seasoned yogis, they pay attention to it, they see its characteristic very fast, it disappears. Why does it disappear here? It's because the mind is being taken over by the effort and mindfulness. The right effort and the right mindfulness. When it comes in, the wholesome mind comes in, it replaces the sloth and torpor, and therefore the sloth and torpor disappear. So you begin to transform the sloth and torpor into a meditation object. You begin to transform the sloth and torpor into your meditation object. When you're able to do that, your confidence will start to increase again. Because now you know what to do. You know how to do. At least that's one way. You know that you can able to overcome that. Then there's a confidence in you. You feel good. Because next time when it comes in, at least you know one method. But it's easier said than done. Because as I said, first few days, if you come in, you try with this, you'll lose the battle. You'll not win the battle. The first few days, it's not about teaching you how to overcome the sleepiness. First few days is that your mindfulness, your alertness, it will begin, as the effort begins to increase, it will prevent the sleepiness from coming in too much. That's why after 3 or 4 or 5 days, you find that your sleepiness become less, even though you don't directly deal with it. It's because that your alertness, your effort is being increased from your walking, sitting over there, daily activities. But over some days, when your mindfulness is become stronger a week later, then you have to go directly face to face with this restless mind and this sloth and torpor. Then when your sloth and torpor comes in, you begin to pay attention to see what is changing over here. And then you see this sloth and torpor. The characteristics sometimes is getting stronger, more and more sleepy. Even you note it become more and more sleepy. You keep going, noting. Sometimes become less, disappear. So in this way, you begin to see either the beginning, the middle, and the end of a sloth and torpor, that which I've talked about that 3 or 4 days earlier. You see a change. You see a change of how it arises, sometimes how it sustains, or sometimes how it disappears. Beginning, middle, the end. So too with the restless mind, also the same thing. They are all valid meditation objects. So this is one way. Go directly face to face with it, but at the end, you have to able to overcome the sloth and torpor. Now, if you cannot try this way, then try another way, which is a bit more simple. This one, we use the sitting and touching. The sitting and touching is very effective. But you got to do it, the sitting and touching rightly. If you just do it, superficially, you're not going to improve on this one. What do you mean by doing the sitting and touching right now? Now, say for example, you're aware that the sloth and torpor, the drowsiness starts coming in. Heaviness of the mind starts coming in. When you're aware of it, you alert of it, but you don't stay with it. You bring your attention back to the body again. Look for 3 or 4 points, or look for 3 or 4 areas which is a bit prominent to you. Use this point right now, Frank. Now, you're aware of the sloth and torpor. Bring it back to the touching, for example. When you notice the touching, let's say the touching of your hands. When you notice the touching, you note the touching a bit more faster. Touching, 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 touching. 4 or 5 times. But while you are labeling the touching, make sure you pick up a characteristic of a touch. Say, for example, there's a warmness there, or a pressure there, or some kind of sensation is there. Just pick up 1 or 2. Then you have to move on to the next object. Move on to the next object. Say, for example, now is your buttock. You pay attention to the right buttock, let's say. When you pay attention to it, to the right buttock, you note sitting, 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 sitting. At the same time, pick up 1 or 2 sensation. Pick up 1 or 2 pressure or hardness there. Then you move to the left buttock. Do the same thing. Note a few times. Go to the sitting, touching again. Do the same thing. Do it clockwise. Do it anti-clockwise. Sometimes you have to change other objects also, if you can. Then, what I'm trying to say is that you use this sitting and touching. You do it a little bit more faster than usual. Move the mind a bit more. Let the mind work. At the same time, you must learn to pick up the characteristic of what is happening. You may take the whole body sitting. As a 1 point. You must take the 2 buttocks, another 2 and 3 points. Also can. If some people, they sit on the left hand and the right hand on their thighs. Then you have right hand 1 point, left hand 1 point, buttock 1 point, this 1 point. Or you want to take the next point, the 5th point on the whole body sitting. Also can. It's very flexible, this sitting and touching. Some people use this rising, falling, sitting, touching, which a number of you are doing it. But if you want to do it, you got to do it correctly. If you just do it, for example, rising, falling, sitting, touching, rising, falling, sitting, touching, you are not putting a clear effort into it. You're just skip it through. But if you want to do the rising and falling, sitting, touching, do a few times of rising and falling first. Pick up a sensation first, then only do the touching. Touching, touching, touching. Pick up a sensation. Go back to rising and falling, rising and falling. Pick up a few rising and falling first, and pick up the sensation there. A long one, a short one, a hard one. Then only is effective. If you just sit there, rising, falling, sitting, touching, rising, falling, sitting, touching, you think you're going to beat the sleepiness. You're not going to win anything because you're just skimming on the surface only. You're not putting a real effort there, and your mind is not picking up anything. When you label it a bit more faster, you note it a bit more faster, noting a bit more faster, you're arousing the effort. And you pick up the characteristic of an object. You develop the mindfulness. A lot of times, we only develop the we develop the effort without the mindfulness. You're just doing a rising, falling, sitting, touching, rising, falling, sitting, touching. You can do fast but rising, falling, sitting, touching, rising, falling. Effort is there, mindfulness is not there. Or sometimes people do sitting, touching, sitting, touching, sitting, touching. They run, up. Afterwards, yes, you also feel free from sleepiness also at a certain time. But your mind is not flexible, because if you overdo it, the whole mind becomes too bright. but you can't meditate afterward. It's very bright. Yeah, the sleepiness all gone, but too bright. Because why? Because the mindfulness doesn't come in together with that noting. Effort is there, mindfulness is not there, or lacking of it. It may take you for a while before the mindfulness starts to come in after the brightness. But what we want you to do is that you to able to see, to able to arouse the effort and the mindfulness so that it can able to overcome the sloth and torpor. The moment it overcomes the sloth and torpor, you can start off with any other object, rising, falling, sitting, touching, any other thing continuously. Yeah? So there are minor things inside this sitting and touching. That's why, as I said, first day, you've got to learn the sitting and touching. You're not a rising, falling yogi, you know. This is satipatthana. Don't think that all this method of Mahasi method is just rising and falling only and nothing else. Because there are people who think like that, you know. They don't really see anything else. They don't see anything else except pain only. Pain also, look at it very shallowly. Other objects come in very shallowly. Sitting and touching just like waiting for a bus, you know, as I say. Wait. How come rising, falling don't come yet? How come rising, falling don't come yet? Sitting, touching. Come already or not yet. Rising, sitting, touching, sitting. That is not the way. Every object that you note has to be thorough. That's why, as I said, the rule of the thumb of a sitting meditation is to be immediate thoroughness from the beginning of the sitting. That means every object that you use, every object you pay attention to, you've got to be precise, notice it clearly. If you don't do it, then all your meditation is very sporadic. You're sitting down, but your attention is very weak and sporadic. Then you don't go anything much after that. Then retreat come, retreat go, retreat come, retreat go, sama-sama same only result. So whose fault Teacher's fault Because you don't do it properly, you don't do it precisely, you don't do it clearly. Now, this is one way. It's easier, but you got to do it rightly. The sitting and touching, you don't have to really see how the sleepiness is like, but use the sitting and touching to develop it, to overcome it, because you are arousing effort and mindfulness from another object, not from the sleepiness itself. Okay? So this is one way. There's another way. Another way of vipassana way is to see the conditionality of sleepiness and the movement of the body right now. Because right now, when you are drowsy, your body moves, your head moves. It gets tilted forward, it tilted sideways, your body slouching, your this one. All these small little things, don't underestimate them, because you can use those things as a meditation object also. How are you going to do that now? When you're sitting down, then you get sleepiness arises. You feel that your body starts to slouching, go forward, bending a little bit. Then this time, you take your meditation, you take your attention to note the sleepiness. Drowsy, heavy. As you note the heavy, you feel that the body is also moving together with that slouching. It begins to slouch together with the arising of that sleepiness. As the sleepiness gets stronger a little bit more, it gets bent further, it gets bent further. Then here, if you pay attention to it, you begin to notice that it gets stronger, it bends. It gets stronger, it bends. It gets stronger, it slouches. It gets stronger, your head nods, for example. All these small little things, you don't stop it. You pay attention to it. Some people, the body actually goes further and further, and the head almost touching the floor, or perhaps also touching the floor. But they can do it slowly. Once you can slow it slowly during this time, if the yogi is making an effort, he pays attention to how the body and the mind is being related to each one and another. He sees the whole process going down. Then, as the mindfulness becomes clear, as strong and clear, then when the sloth and torpor becomes to ease off and becomes to clear again, then the whole body will start to re-straighten on its own. It's re-straightened on its own, and then it come back to the erect position of the sitting. You don't have to do anything. Just have to pay attention to see how the whole process go through. But do you do that? You don't do that. Why? Because whatever is right in front of us, we didn't see it. We thought that all these things very mediocre, small thing. What is the big? But all these things is the knowledge. Because if you pay attention in this way, seeing the sleepiness and how the body is reacting, then when you see this in the process for a while, you're paying attention to what we call the fourth satipatthana. Dhammanupassana satipatthana, when you begin to see the interaction of objects. So too, like yesterday we talked about the restless mind. When you begin to pay attention to how the thinking mind arises, then the tension of the body arises. As the thinking and restless mind slowly disappear, you feel that this one also disappear. The tension of the body also disappear. Interrelatedness. So when that interrelatedness, you pay attention this way, it falls under the fourth satipatthana. In the fourth satipatthana, in the hindrance, the Buddha says, you know the beginning, you know the cause, you know the beginning, you know how it arises, you know how it's sustained, you know how it ends, you know the condition how it arises, you know the condition is there, and how the condition ends. This in the fourth satipatthana is, this is how you pay attention to it, how those things are interrelated. You begin to see how all these things happening. And now, if you pay attention just on the sleepiness alone, without the body, let's say, you see it very dark, very, very heavy, and you see it changes, how it arises, sustained, then it falls under the third satipatthana. All right? It falls under the third satipatthana because you only see the state of mind only. You are not seeing in relation with other things. Okay? So this is how it differentiates in the satipatthana. But of course, here again, we don't go and think about it, whether it is third satipatthana or fourth satipatthana, because at the end, we need to overcome the sloth and torpor. Okay? But this is just a general idea that actually you're thinking that you're doing only kaya nupassana. No. If you're doing it properly, the fourth satipatthana, the third satipatthana, the second satipatthana, the first satipatthana, you are all doing it. So anyway, we keep it like that. You take note of how the whole process is like until you can able to overcome that sleepiness, the drowsiness. And we go to the next one, the samatha way. In the way of samatha, mindfulness of death is going to be very helpful. If you are a person who is lazy here, lazy there, then mindfulness of death will be helpful because it arouses a lot of overcomes the sloth and torpor by arousing a lot of effort. Let's say next morning you start 5 o'clock sitting, let's say, you know that I'm so sleepy, so tired, so heavy and all that. Forget about your vipassana for a while. Change to let's say mindfulness on death. And some of you have gone through my past retreats, perhaps you know what to do, And tonight is just the first night we try only. But if you have done it before, it can be very helpful. The reflection about death. So it gives you that sense of urgency. When it gives you the sense of urgency, you re-alert in the whole morning. Perhaps it can last for the next 45 minutes before the chanting starts. At least you got a clear sitting. If not every day, every morning, sleepy, and sleepy only. You cannot do anything. So it can be very helpful. So this one thing, this one way. Another way is that what the Buddha recommends, perception of light. Perception of light is a kind of a samatha object. The perception of light, what it means here, sometimes you read, the overcoming of these hindrances, they're inside there, but they don't tell you what to do. Of course, here I'm going to tell you just briefly only. But perception of light here means that, before you understand this, you see, whenever you do meditation, sometimes the brightness of the lights do come in. With different colors, spotlight and everything. Whenever there's a light coming in this mind or in the heart, then you find that there's no sloth and torpor. The time your mind is alert. If you are not sure, next time, if you have, you find that there's no sloth and torpor. It's always alert. And that is very useful. At that time, of course, when you're alert, we ask you to not seeing. Okay, forget about it, come back, rising, falling, and so on. Well and good, okay? But when it comes to a sloth and torpor, perception of light, what it means that you are purposely arousing the light to arise. Purposely. You make the light to come up in the mind, because to overcome the sloth and torpor. How do you able to arouse the perception of light? Arousing the perception of light is that perhaps you recall, you remember in the past. Perhaps you go to a place that's very bright, for example. Or you look at the sun mentally, very bright. You remember the sun, so bright, then that time it overcomes the sloth and torpor. If you are able to have a perception of light, an image of a light, that you're able to note it, sloth and torpor, very fast it disappears. Sometimes you go to a beach, at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so bright, no clouds, very clear, as if like a whole thing see through, very bright, very helpful. Or sometimes some of you can able to recall a torchlight shining onto you, bright light. All this type of brightness to come. Now here, we use this light, arousing this light, just enough for overcoming of sloth and torpor. Once the sloth and torpor over, we let it go already. We let it go, come back to the whole rising and falling and so on. And when it comes back very clearly also. Again here, I may tell you what to do. You may try it just for a short while, okay. But for other teachers, I can't say so. Other teachers got other teachers' way. But this one is mentioned by the Buddha himself. But exactly how to do it, sometimes, a lot of times, we really do not know. But sometimes other teachers may not want you to do this type of things. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful. And I said this state of light, to able to see this state of light, is just for the purpose to overcome the sloth and torpor. Once it's overcome it clears the whole mind, brighten again, we drop the light, come back to rising, fallings, or sitting, touching, and so on. It's very useful actually. Perception of light. This is what the Buddha mentioned. The Buddha also mentioned that there are a number of things also. For example, if the Buddha says that don't pay attention of this sloth and torpor, what do you mean by don't pay attention to it? Now, especially when the sloth and torpor is not so heavy. When it's not so heavy, then you know that it's there, but you bring your attention to sitting and touching. You're not sitting and touching, you forget about the sloth and torpor, you do it a bit fast. So, in a way, you don't pay attention to it. That's mentioned in the suttas, There are 8 things that the Buddha mentioned, but exactly how to do it, sometimes we don't realize it. The next thing is about, the Buddha also mentioned, is that reflecting. That means you purposely bring in the thinking to the something which is wholesome. For example, the teachings of the Buddha, the chanting, You remember iti piso bhagawa, and then you reflect on the qualities of the Buddha, because now you're shifting attention to another thing. But here again, you got to be careful. Again, this one, if you shift it too much and think too much, then it ends up with restless minds. Yeah? Just enough for the clearing of the sloth and torpor, you come back again. So you reflect on it, on the teaching, you examine the teaching, you examine the chanting, for example, then it can be very helpful. And the Buddha also mentioned that, this one is like pulling your earlobes, rubbing your limbs, stretching the body a little bit. Sometimes you find that you are too drowsy, you cannot do anything. Get up from the sitting. Go to the behind there, go to somebody, and then do a bit of stretching and so on. Don't do your yoga in the middle of everybody's walking there. Then you will stretch here, do there, your dog pose sun, saluting the sun or whatever, and then you be careful. You're not supposed to do all these things in the middle. If you need to do something, let's say, go to the side there, and then you go and show off to everybody, Just do a bit of stretching and so on. The Buddha says also pulling the earlobes. If you sit and you pull the earlobes a little bit, because here when the earlobes become red a little bit, all your points, your meridian points are all activated. And get all these things I tried, and it works. But not all the time it works. That's the problem. It works sometimes it works, yes, it works, but not all the time it works. So sometimes one Kung Fu you cannot use and you have to use another Kung Fu. Then only perhaps you can able to overcome the sloth and torpor. And then the Buddha also mentioned, very simple, is that if you cannot stand the sloth and torpor, get up. Get up, go to the toilet and wash your face. Wash your face, wet your body a little bit, your limbs a little bit. So then also it's effective. The Buddha also mentioned walk up and down. Because when you're walking, there'll be less chances of sloth and torpor. Walk up and down here means not go too slow, but more or less gently. More like toward one face like that. Meaning here is that when you're sitting there, too heavy, you do the sitting and touching pun tak boleh. Cannot work. Also still very heavy. You find that cannot really. This time you got to break away from the sitting. Get up from the sitting. Do for 5 or 10 minutes of walking. Or sometimes you may combine it with washing your face and so on. Then get up and then do the walking. Do the walking, right step, left step, but be aware of the sensation. Be aware of the sensation. Pick up the sensation. Bring in the mindfulness back again. Make the effort to bring back the mindfulness. So the doing the walking up and down. So it's going to be useful. The Buddha also mentioned is that there's another thing is that looking far away mindfully. Looking far away into a distance. Especially like when you're afternoon, you can see things far away. You can see things far away, mindfully open up, but don't scan the horizon, Don't see who is doing what. No, it's just one pointed very far away. Just take note. Perhaps here you can see the Penang Hill. I see what is happening. Don't worry what is happening, sorry. Just see far away. So it stimulates lights into the eyes, and then it affects the mind to make the mind more alert. This is recommended also by the Buddha. And what else? What do you think? What else? Quietly, you say sleep. Quietly, you know the answer, but you can't just say it out loud. Because paiseh. Now, not to say that we don't recommend. That also the Buddha recommends, But it's only on a certain basis, only a certain condition. But before we talk about lying down, we also have to know that and in this retreat there's a lot of struggling. You're going to need to push the body a lot. Sooner or later, the body is going to be tired. Some days, you're going to be a bit tired a little bit more. So sometimes in the afternoon, it will be good that you take a short nap. Even if you don't nap, also doesn't matter. But kind of like a body lie down. Then you get up again to walk, to sit. Some people don't feel like you need to lie down, doesn't matter. But when you lie down with a purpose. Just to relax the body, but not the mind. Just to relax the body, because here you wake up at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock until like 12 o'clock. There's many hours has passed through. So the body needs sometimes a short rest. Sometimes with that short rest, in the afternoons, a lot of sloth and torpor is overcome. A lot of sloth and torpor. This one also I see it for myself also. But not to the extent that you begin to indulge in the sleeping. Just enough for the body to rest, then get up and do the walking or sitting again. If you indulge too long, say for example like 1 hour or more, then that time the body becomes too rested, and the mind also, the heat of the mindfulness starts to cool off. Then you got to rebuild everything all over again. Then it will take you an afternoon just to build it up. So we just soften the body, make it more less tired. After that, just go on with the walking and sitting. So roughly it takes you about 20 to 30 minutes. Sometimes if you're really tired, maybe up to 40 minutes. If you can't sleep, doesn't matter. Just stay there, keep your mind peaceful, don't let the mind run. Stay with the body. As you stay with the body, it'll be very helpful for you. So after all, the sleepiness, you'll be, not to say it will become, but you will still be there here and there, but it's much more manageable. Much more manageable. Then at night, you may not able to sleep. And now sometimes at night you'll be so alert. Because why? Afternoon sleep already. Walking, sitting also sleep. At night you're so alert. Of course, that time you got to be mindful also. Mindful, but not in the sense of very strong awareness, but a very light awareness. Just be aware. Just kind of like, don't let the body goes into thinking. Don't let the mind goes into thinking. If you let go, while you are lying down at night, and you can't sleep, just bring the mind back to the body again. Just softly, not perhaps not the rising and falling. If you want to go to the rising and falling, just soft rising and falling, very gentle rising and falling, very very soft rising and falling as you lie down there. You need to turn, you turn mindfully. But don't let the mind goes into restless mind. The restless mind is the one the next morning makes you very tired. But if there's some degree for mindfulness for the next 5 or 6 hours there, don't let the mind run, then the next morning you feel quite good, still able to meditate for the whole day through. So at night if you can't sleep, don't be too alarmed. Don't be fearful that you cannot sleep. There are mindfulness to help to calm the body down. Because a lot of times when it goes into a retreat, the mind is quite alert. The body doesn't need so much rest. The body sometimes needs just to lie down for a while. As it rested, the next day the mind can go on again, provided that it does not go into restless mind. So be careful. Take note of these things. Now, before we go, we look into a bit of the prevention. Prevention of this sloth and torpor. What do you think the first thing the Buddha would say? Maybe you have heard my Dharma talk before. Well and good. But agak lah. What do you think the prevention should be? Don't eat too much. Which is right. The Buddha also mentioned it. Don't eat too much. Just eat enough. All the peta, When we all love to eat, especially people from Penang. Morning talking about eating and eating and eating only. Any people come to Penang, also talking about eating only. They talk to the monks, talk about eating also. We are ready for the Dhamma, but they want to talk about, Bante, this food is good, Bante, this is how I cook this and that. But anyway, what the Buddha is trying to mention here is that eating is one of the biggest factors that cause sloth and torpor to come up. If you eat too much in your breakfast and you eat too much in your lunch, this will cause a problem, sometimes bloatedness. As you get bloatedness in the afternoon, you feel very difficult to meditate. If you do not have bloatedness because the stomach is too heavy, the sleepiness will be there. Yeah? So we need to cut down just enough for us to able to have energy throughout the whole day. Just enough. So first few days, usually a yogi will eat more because they're just coming from outside. After 3 or 4 days, usually you get less. You get less, you just eat enough. But of course, occasionally the desire comes in here and there, but it's not too much after all, So don't worry about those things. Usually you can get less a little bit after a number of days while you are here. But just eat enough. When you eat enough, you find that the body is lighter. When the body is lighter, it's conditioned for the afternoon for you to sit and walk without that heaviness. Now, the Buddha also mentioned, the commentary also mentioned, how much is much? How much is enough? The solid food that you are taking is about 80% enough. Kind of like 80% type. 20% is more like your soup and drink to fill up to become 100%. So after you take your rice and take your chicken and so on, whatever that you are taking, you feel that agak okay already, You feel that okay already? Then you take some soup and so on, your drinks and a little bit of dessert. I mean, dessert also counted, as the 80% or so. No. Not the main dish only, then dessert is, no. It's talking about solid food. Solid food here, about 80% somewhere there. So you feel that you're quite okay. Just fill up with a bit of water or soup and so on, then it makes up to the 100%. This is what we call eating in the sense of moderation. Just enough for the sake of giving you the energy for you to be able to meditate. But those who come in first time to retreat, they always fear the 8th precept. The 6th precept, Why? After afternoon, you don't know whether enough or not. Eat some more. After that, at night, hungry how? Don't know can tahan or not. That's where your fear will be there, first few times. But after that, you see that all the yogis didn't die here. Then you say, okay, still can, Don't worry about that. Don't be fearful about the 8th precept or all the 6 precept, that you don't eat. Before we go, this meditation, because we begin to eat less and there's a lot of walking, sitting. At the end of your retreat, let's say 1 month, sometimes you lose 2 kg. You go back, your belt will be a bit more, you have to pull a bit more. Sometimes you cannot. And those who want to slim down, can, free slimming program. Sure. So, alright, so we finish on this Sloth and Torpor. Tonight we have another talk. Tomorrow night we have another talk. Okay.